Hello and welcome to Some of My Friends Read Comics. We've got Chris.
You must be very proud.
We've got Vince.
Oh man, you burned that shirt, yeah? You look like George Perez.
And I'm Kia. Welcome to the show. We're reading some Hulk today. Some incredible Hulk, some classic Hulk by Peter David. Some slightly more modern Hulk by Peter David. And then we're doing our Thunderbolts. We're continuing the Thunderbolts. We're on issue number 4 there. We'll get to that at the end. But some Hulk stuff. We haven't read a whole ton of Hulk stuff for the show, have we? We read some of Peter David's She-Hulk. And we read Hulk Future Imperfect way back when.
Yeah, that one was what, like episode 170, I think I looked up. Like 3 or 4 years ago we read Future Imperfect.
Mm-hmm.
Which carries over into this book, funnily enough.
It does, just a little bit, yeah, with Hulk kind of going into the future, seeing an evil version of himself, having grown up and taken over and all that. But these issues are a little bit sillier. They do kind of pick up almost immediately after that. This is all about the wedding of Rick Jones. And it's just 3 short issues, 417 through 419. From the mid-90s, 1994 is where
they actually 3 years ago, or 30 years ago this month. The issue 1 was May 94. June 94 is when we're recording this and releasing this. Or June 2024 rather. Okay, we're not traveling back in time, but yeah, 30 years ago. And I thought that was funny because the Bachelor Party is apparently a very ridiculous issue, and I'd heard about that on a anniversary podcast. So I was like, oh, well, we should check out this ridiculous anniversary issue where Captain America gets a little flustered at a strip club. So here we are.
Here we are. We're gonna, I guess, jump into it here. There's not much. I guess there's some stage setting as we meet all these characters. There are a lot of characters in this book who I wrote a lot of them down. Then I was like, was this guy important? Who's Leonard with the green hair? Who's the first
Is
person?
Is that Doc Samson?
Doc Samson, yes.
Okay, Leonard Samson.
And
Doc
he's a therapist. I get him confused with Doc Savage, who's different. But
Doc Savage is different. Yeah. Doc Samson is just a nice dude with green hair.
I'm sure he fights crime in some capacity.
I'm sure he does. But right now he is, I guess he has been staying with the Hulk to help him out with everything. Hulk shows up. Sorry, go ahead.
And we got a smart Hulk right now.
We got a smart Hulk right now. He's in Hulk form. He looks so the art in the first couple issues is by Gary Frank. It's very, very clean lines, and the Hulk really does just look like kind of a large guy. His face is very just a regular kind of face, but green,
And we've covered Gary Frank before. Did he do? What did he do? Did he do Infinity Gauntlet, the back half of that or something?
I don't think it was that.
I don't know. I don't remember Gary Frank.
I might be thinking of somebody else then. Okay.
Are you thinking of Lisa Frank?
Yes, I'm thinking of Lisa Frank's Infinity Gauntlet issues are insane.
They're good. They're real good. So Hulk comes in home finally, and Leonard's like, well, guess who finally showed up? Instantly, I just like the little comedy touches in this book. Bruce is hitting his head on every doorway, just leaving cracked frames behind. And Leonard is like, okay, I'm leaving. Clearly, you don't want my help. You're kind of shutting me out here. I'm going to go spread my help to people who actually are going to use it. And Hulk is looking in the mirror. He sees the Maestro in there, the future version of himself. And he smashes it crying. Please don't leave me. I need your help. That kind of thing.
Yeah. So the Maestro was, as we covered, he's like an evil future version of Hulk that Hulk ran into for just two issues. 2 years earlier, but he runs quite an influence over Hulk. For just 2 issues, it's kind of wild. I like it though.
Pivotal story. So meanwhile, we have Betty Brant, right? Who is the Hulk's girlfriend at this time?
Might be his wife.
Might be his wife. I don't know.
I did not realize she was blonde. I thought she was black hair. But I may be confusing her with Betty Brant from the Daily Bugle and Liv Tyler from the movies.
Wait, I said Betty Brant. Who's Betty?
Ross.
Betty Ross.
Betty Ross. That's right. Not Betsy.
General
Ross.
Thunderbolt Ross.
Yeah, now played by Harrison Ford in the movies.
Wait,
because William
Harrison
Hurt
Ford
died.
is Betty Ross?
No, he's Betty Ross's daddy.
Oh, I see. Thunder. Oh, I see.
William Hurt played Thunderbolt Ross, and no relation to the Thunderbolts. But
Jennifer Connelly played her in the Edward Norton movie.
That's right.
No, the second one, the Edward Norton one.
Okay.
Oh, wait, who was it in
both
the?
Liv Tyler and Jennifer Connelly both played her, and they were both like dark
Liv
hair.
Tyler was in the first one. Yeah.
Look, there's a lot of Hulks, a lot of Bettys. I'm losing track here, but
and that's why I'm like, why is Betty blonde? I was very confused.
She was brunette in both those movies, but she may have just dyed her hair. It's not impossible.
Mm-hmm. You're right. It's not impossible. So Betty is coming home to meet Marlo. Marlo is Rick Jones's fiance, except I guess the wedding has been canceled because Betty has spent all day canceling everything, calling everybody, pissing people off. And she comes home to tell Marlo that she's taking care of it all, and Rick Jones is in bed with Marlo, and Marlo's like, "Hey, the wedding's back on, haha." And Betty's a little upset that she's got to undo all this work she just did, but overall, hooray. We've got Captain America. He's over at the Fantastic Four place, talking to Johnny and Sue over pool. What's going on here? Is Reed dead at this point?
Yes, Reed is presumed dead.
Okay. There's a few moments where Sue is kind of they never directly say that, but I assumed as much just because Sue is like, mentioning a few sad things about it.
Must be nice to have a husband, I think she says, or something.
It's kind of ridiculous that she's still wearing her 90s Fantastic Four outfit that she only wore kind of as a joke to try to get Reed's attention. Considering he's dead, it has like negative space 4 over her chest. And
it's kind of like a Power Girl boob window, right?
It's a little revealing, yeah. It's also, I don't know about Sue's characterization here, because Cap and Johnny are playing pool, and there's something about like, oh, you want to bet you can't make that shot, and Captain goes, I never take bets unless it's a sure thing. You're on. And he makes the shot, and Sue blocks it with like a force bubble, and Cap's like, hey, wait a minute, that kind of looked like
that's some dirty pool.
Real dirty pool. Which that's not how I see. I don't see Sue Storm as a pool shark, It's not her characterization.
Maybe she's wearing this costume and having a friendly banter with Captain America. Maybe she invited him over. Her husband's deceased. She's
wow.
I feel like that's in line with this book, and
And Cap is not seeing any of the clues.
Nope, he really isn't.
So Reed is presumed dead also in the Thunderbolts, like 3 or 4 years later again?
Well, yeah, different time.
That's like everybody was presumed dead.
Yeah.
Come on.
Okay.
All right, so Bruce is meanwhile having a little mini therapy session with Leonard, talking about what he saw in the future. Always talking about how he didn't want to be like his dad, but he saw his father's eyes in the Maestro, like his dad's angry eyes. Then we get to Marlo and Rick and Bruce and Betty, our 4 main characters here, the 2 couples. They're picking up Marlo's mom at the airport for the wedding. She seems nice, a fun little gag where they're like, you got to see the mom to see what a woman's going to look like in 20 years. And it's like, there's a super hot model coming down, but then mom peeks her head out from behind her. She still seems nice. She seemed cute. Bruce has a weird joke that like these bags are way too heavy for him. And he's like, just kidding. And they're like, oh, Bruce.
Yeah. There's also a part where Marlo's mom is like, I'm glad she settled down with Rick. She was dating a horrible gray monster man.
Oh, yes. Yeah. And they're like, don't say anything. So what is this little side story here with Hector and Ulysses about like a coworker not fully accepting that the other coworker is gay? That's pretty much it.
Yeah. So at the time, Hulk is like living on this with these guys. They're like the Pantheon or something like that. And so they have like a mountain headquarters and everything. And that's where when next issue, Betty's like, I'm ready to move back in with you. So yeah, I guess they're supporting characters. I know very little about them except what we learn right here, which is one of them is gay.
Yeah, Hector is gay and Ulysses is just like kind of cracking jokes that aren't like super offensive or anything, but Hector's just kind of getting a little tired of it.
Yeah, I don't know if it's like trying to be progressive in 1994 or what.
Right.
But it like the one guy's like, why would you even want to go to a bachelor party? Like you're gay. And I'm like, I don't think going to a bachelor party is just about.
Yeah.
I mean, it's about being debaucherous, not about like having sexual. It's about just being goofy and silly. And a gay guy would be like, yeah, hell yeah, I'm down I'm down to party with my boys. Like that's fine.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So that comes up a little bit more later here. Let's see, what do we got at the bachelorette party? It's kind of low key. Marlowe's mom is excited to talk to someone who's been abducted by aliens. Who was that? Did they name her?
That's Mona, but I don't know that they name her. Not important.
Yeah, there's a lot of like unimportant characters that show up here. We'll talk about them.
It is funny because like Marlowe seemingly doesn't have that many friends that I don't think she knows most of these superheroes.
Yeah. Marlowe does kind of like that it's a relatively low-key bachelorette party, but then Sue, Storm, and She-Hulk and some Skrull lady, they show up and...
That's Lila, Johnny Storm's wife.
There we go.
The party's here.
Yep. They kidnap Marlowe, and they're going to take her to the real party. And Sue was promised that it would be in good taste. Over at the bachelorette party the bachelor side of things, everyone is drunk. Captain America's like, Hulk, you said this was non-alcoholic beer. But we find out that Rick Jones's teen brigade spiked it. All those teens.
Who's wearing a colander on Silver Surfer's surfboard?
I'm not sure who that is.
A colander on Silver Surfer?
Yeah.
You're right. Who is? I think it's just some guy. It looks like an office guy. You know?
Yeah, I do like Silver Surfer not liking this.
Yeah, that's quite enough. That's good. Yeah.
So is this all Rick Jones's friends? Because Rick Jones was like Captain America's sidekick, right? And Hulk's sidekick.
And the Hulk's sidekick and part of the Teen Brigade and all that.
Would have been Captain Marvel's sidekick, but Captain Marvel's dead at this point.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. And then I guess sort of someone who appears to be a supervillain storms in saying, I'm the Ecdesiast, and I've come for Rick Jones. And Iron Man's like, she's holding a hairdryer? And Cap is like, hold it, man. Better do as she says. And it's very clearly turning into like a strip routine. And Cap is starting to get a little flustered here. And he's like, wait a minute. This is like Nick Fury sent this gift. I thought an Ecdesiast was a magician. And he's like, no. Hulk's like, no, it's a stripper.
Oh, she says it. It's Nick Fury says hi, and it's a heart balloon. It's a word balloon. Yeah. Beautiful. Chef's kiss.
It's beautiful, yeah.
I love the nervous expression of Captain America. Like, I thought he was a magician.
Mm-hmm. He's so like biting his lip. It's good.
Yeah, genuinely very funny.
Mm-hmm. The girls, meanwhile, have taken Marlowe to a strip club. The Bear Hide Kid is on stage. And Hulk is like, oh god, I just don't tell Betty about this. I can't imagine what she'd think. And Betty is like hooting and hollering at the strip club. Sue is really not into it here. She's like, what if the paparazzi snaps a pic of me kind of like after my loss? What would they think? But then the place gets robbed. But it's okay. They got a bunch of superheroes there. They can handle it. The robbers are fucked.
Meanwhile, those robbers like fire a shot at Marlowe like literally for no reason. I'm like, you guys are so lucky.
Yeah, they're bad. They're bad guys. They're bad guys. We have
criminals too. Like, just don't even do that. What are you thinking?
They don't know. They don't know any better.
I forgot they shot her or shot at her because goodness gracious, like why are you knocking off a strip club in the middle of the day, like messing with the patrons? Like it's a pretty quiet assembly. You could probably get in the back pretty easily and rob it without having to do all this.
Yeah, pretty dumb.
And shooting at people. What the fuck?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like there's a way to do this where we're not just like immediately escalating this into firing shots and getting like a murder beef.
Yeah. So lawyer Chris, like how much did this just add to your sentence?
Yeah, a lot. Really no reason to do that. Fortunately, I guess they probably would testify against you. I'm like, maybe they wouldn't, but She-Hulk's there. She'll testify.
you want to write Incredible Hulk number 417.5 that goes into the details of what happened to these people? Because it does just kind of leave it as like,
trial.
yeah, it just leaves it like, okay, those guys we've presumed that the superheroes have taken care of it. Back on the men's side, they've decided to watch a skin flick. Is this Jarvis who's like putting this thing on the camera?
No, this is Rick Jones's manager.
Oh, Boggs. There we go. Yeah, Boggs. Boggs decides to put on a porno.
The thing is reel to reel in 1994.
It's a reel. Yes, it's a reel. Vision has to help get it working. And Vision is like, oh, I don't really see much of a point to a film with unclad females. And Ulysses is like, hey, have you met Hector? Like, oh my God, shut up, man. And they're watching this movie, and Rick is also just like, you know what? I must really be in love because I can't get anything going for a woman because all I can think about is Marlo. And he realizes that the woman on the screen is Marlo, and he's like, what the fuck? That's where your line came from, Chris. Where Vision is like, that is your fiance? You must be very proud.
That's good.
And
it is funny. Marlo looks exactly like Mary Jane. I mean, I know it's just kind of like the clean lines and everything, and she's just kind of a tall redhead. But I'm like, it's hard for me to not just see her looking like exactly like Mary Jane.
Marlo Jane.
Yeah. Marlo Jane. And meanwhile, to finish off this issue, we do not get a dude in the shadows. We get a dude stretching up out of the tables.
Oh.
It's the Impossible Man, who I don't think I've read anything with the Impossible Man. Maybe some old issue from the 60s.
I want to say he showed up in that like Future Foundation stuff, right?
He probably did, yeah.
Maybe, yeah.
There's a lot of Fantastic Four.
Show.
There's a lot of Fantastic Four people, though, isn't this in this book?
Yeah, it's a big Fantastic Four heavy book. Yeah, Impossible Man. What are his powers? Just anything?
He's an alien. He's kind of like Mr. Mitzel-Pitlick.
That's what I thought it was.
Just kind of an annoying guy. He can shapeshift and do things, but mostly he is not a real villain.
Yeah. And he's thinking, oh my goodness, they didn't invite me to the wedding. I bet they didn't invite lots of people. Well, let's fix that. And I don't actually think we ever see the Impossible Man again. He just invites a bunch of people to the wedding and he's done. That's his part.
Yeah, I guess he's like, oh, I have other plans, but I'm going to invite other people.
Yeah. We jump straight into the next issue here, 418. Still same art, Gary Frank here. Rick is very mad at Marlo. Marlo's kind of trying to defend herself. She did it when she was 18, first time she ever felt pretty, that kind of thing. Yeah, Rick is being a little bit of an asshole about it.
Like, let it go. Who cares?
Yeah. And meanwhile, she just kind of goes.
What is Boggs' deal showing this film?
Yeah, right. That's pretty shitty.
That is really shitty. They got to follow up on that. Marlo's asleep though. She has a dream on a beach where some kind of mysterious dude is like offering to buy her soul to fix the whole problem, and she's like, well, "Hold on, this is a dream." And he's like, yeah, but you can still do it. And she's like, okay, sure.
She's also on the beach, like in the movie.
Yeah.
Just like her big clue that she's
continuity.
She wakes up and Rick has suddenly come to his senses, and he's like, okay, it's no big deal. And she's like, just like that, huh? Okay.
This guy loves interfering in redheads' marriages. What's his deal?
Yeah, there's something about this guy. Who is he? I wonder. And then we get pages of Rick and Marlo getting ready with their friends. Kind of nice parallel pages of Rick being like getting his suit put on him by the Hulk and Captain America, and then Marlo having all the women tend to her and getting her dress ready.
I don't like Captain America wearing his mask under a tux. It's really funny.
I love it.
It's ridiculous to me. It's like a long tux too, with like a little tail and stuff. And then I'm like, where did Hulk?
Gotta protect his secret identity, Vince.
It's true.
Gotta protect his secret butt.
like everybody comes to this wedding. Like Sydney Sweeney comes to this wedding also, but she's still wearing her mask, but like a nice dress.
Oh. Yeah, I do like that she has like the little, spider web wedding dress.
Mm-hmm.
And then Hulk, I'm
like, bridesmaid dress.
Hulk had to go to like the Kingpin store to get that suit that big.
Oh yeah, that's got to be custom made.
That's got to be custom made. I mean, he's running around as Smart Hulk right now, so like he can afford the wardrobe. It's not gonna be like this is gonna get fucked up. Like he's fine.
Like nobody's gonna make a bunch of these suits ahead of time, right? Hoping they'll sell. That's not.
I mean, Strong Guy is in this issue too, and it talks, and it's just like he's even probably bigger than Hulk.
Maybe in the Marvel universe there is an opportunity for bigger and taller fashion or something. I don't know. All right, so at the party we got lots of guests around. Hector is talking to North Star at the bar, and someone's like, "Oh, they'll make a good couple, don't y'all think?" And Ulysses kind of starts storming towards them. This will just take a minute. I don't know what his plan is here, but Hulk is like, "Hey, let's go chat." Kind of intercepts him.
So North Star hadn't come out at this time.
No, he's not officially out.
But it was strongly implied. The
Yeah.
Marvel writers knew he was gay. But
It was a very open secret that he was gay.
interesting. Good job.
Yeah. We have who else is here? Rain. She's Wolfsbane, right? Yeah.
The Rain is Spain, and I mean,
we've got Brandy and Rom. I don't know who these-
Rom the Space Knight, the robot.
This is definitely the first time I've ever seen Rom Space Knight. Actually,
this blue-haired dude is a robot?
Yes, he's the guy. They recently put a collection of it together, but it was a Bill Mantlo. I think it lasted like 50 issues. Toy tie-in series.
Yeah, it's licensed.
That guy.
Yeah, I remember kind of reading about that. I'd be curious to check some of that out at some point. I don't know anything about it.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we could probably do it, but we would have to just find a way to find those issues because
Bill Mantlow's Rocket Raccoon, right?
Yes.
Nice.
Yes. All right, so then the wedding here starts. We've got Quicksilver on the piano. Okay, I didn't know. I don't know who plays piano. Yep. We have the priest. Looks like he clearly is somebody. He's drawn
Peter
to
David.
I thought as much. That was my guess here. As the priest starts, we're gathered here in the sight of God. Drax the Destroyer starts falling down from the sky, and Rick is like, "Oh, geez, come on! Why do I gotta get a fight at my wedding here?"
X-Men didn't have a fight at their fucking wedding.
Yeah,
Fantastic Four had. Well, Fantastic Four actually did have problems at their wedding, but.
It's pretty rude that he wasn't invited when Adam Warlock is already sitting there next to Johnny and Sue. It's just like you're. I mean, I know. I guess Hulk doesn't like Drax.
I mean, it's also it looks like a pretty small wedding, and Drax lives off planet, right?
Again, if you're gonna invite one member of the Infinity Watch, it's rude to be like, but not Moondragon and Drax. Get him out of here.
Yeah. But it looks like Drax is going to go in for an attack, but he picks up the Hulk and gives him a big hug and says, "Oh my God, you really like me? I've never been invited anywhere before." And Rick's like, "How'd you get an invitation?" Marlo's like, "Not me." Drax is like, "Oh, you don't want me here?"
Once again, I think a Marvel movie would be really great for a wedding, and I would love to see Bautista do this scene with the Hulk.
Oh my! A Marvel movie wedding. They should do that.
Yeah, just do this scene exactly.
Yeah. Rick says, "I'm gonna let my best man handle it," and so Hulk says, "All right, Drax, just sit over there next to Warlock." And yeah, that scene where he just sits there and takes over the row. I want to see that in a movie. Yeah. So then the priest starts to do the whole thing again, and oh no, we get attacked again. It's the Wizard and the Absorbing Man and the Living Laser and Mr. Hyde all attacking together from a ship. And they are also there. They're pulling out their invitations. We didn't have time to chalk for a gift. Sorry. It's kind of sweet. It's kind of sweet that all these villains are willing to just come to a wedding,
Yeah, they don't get invited places.
So they get more chairs for them.
I paid for a wedding. It was fucking expensive. I don't need more head count. This is rude.
Especially, Mr. Hyde, the Absorbing Man. They're not just gonna eat some salad. They look like eaters.
Yeah, is this an open bar? Because fuck.
Oh shit. So then we get more people showing up. It's like a whole squadron of Kree and a whole squadron of Skrull. And so we got Rick on a megaphone being, "All right, Skrull's on the left, Kree on the right." And we have one of the Kree guys is trying to stir up shit with Talos the Tamed, and Silver Surfer's like, "Sit down, or piece of shit. Yeah.
Is that
Not
why?
really,
Is
that's
that why
what-
Talos is on planet for the next issue?
I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know if we. I don't know if we know this guy.
No, but we learn about him next time
Yes.
in the next issue. He's pretty interesting, I think, as the scroll goes. I've never seen him before. And then another guest shows up. It's Mephisto. He's the guy in Marlowe's dream who made the deal with her, and he's telling her, "Hey, dreams are real. I got your soul." And Marlowe says, "Yeah, that's that guy." Mephisto says he really came for the Hulk. Give yourself over to me, and I'll release the woman. And Hulk is just like decides to beat him up, saying, "You have no power here. We're gathered under the sight of God. So you rule the underworld, but like God rules this place. So you're fucked."
So that sentence, does that imply that God is invited to every wedding and has to like, I gotta go to this wedding. I'm sorry, I gotta go looking on this wedding.
Yeah, he loves it.
Okay, cool. He loves weddings. He loves weddings.
Yeah.
Like I love wedding movies. Yeah, we're the same.
Yeah. You and God.
We're
We
the
should
same.
say, and we are gathered here today under the eyes of Vince.
Yeah, or God. We couldn't get God.
Or God.
But
Wow.
Vince is a suitable replacement. I promise you.
Yep.
Wow.
Um,
Blasphemous.
Blasphemous.
That's a good
So yeah, Mephisto is like, I didn't like it. Mephisto is like, you've beaten me too bad. I'm not strong enough. I gotta run. Fine, I'll release Marlowe. Let me go. So Mephisto kind of runs. Then Mephisto later is thinking to himself like, haha, this day has gone well. I let him win so that Hulk would get a bigger head. And in the long run, it's going to help infect him with more evil. And it's going to be great. We're going to turn the Hulk evil. So this was, I guess, a good day for Mephisto.
I feel like this is
Yeah.
self-talk. I don't feel like this is like Star Wars logic where like, like if you're evil to evil people, then you become evil. And that's easier to turn to the dark side. I don't know. That must be the playbook he's doing right now. But it
guess
seems
so.
like it's just like, I meant to fucking do it. I know it beat the shit out of me, but I meant to do that. That was all I ever claimed.
It's also it starts a issue by issue runner of guy pretends to lose a fight to make
Oh,
the
yeah.
other
Yeah.
guy feel good.
Then we get Marlowe gets like a present from somebody who's at the wedding who we don't see her face, but she looks like Sandman's sister from the DC universe.
Yeah.
What's her name?
Death?
Death.
Death. Yes, it's Death.
Like
it
she's
looks
got
Death.
she's got like the white skin, the black like kind of punk hair.
Oh, and that makes sense. Okay, because she later says like, okay, I gotta go before that creep Thanos shows up.
But that's not what Thanos' lady friend Death looks like.
No, we
No.
never really see Death drawn like this. So that's
No, this is
Okay.
this is DC's or Sandman's death.
There's a couple of references to DC throughout this, which I found to be a little unusual here. We'll get to the other one later.
My quote was earlier is that Ulysses and Hector were talking about dressing like George Perez, who drew
Yes,
Hulk
yeah.
Future Imperfect. I guess he drew some Hulk issues.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they mentioned the artist of these two issues in the next issue. Also, the Death gives her a gift, and I guess I had no idea what the joke was, but I looked it up. It's Death gives her a brush because it's just to make the pun a brush with death.
What the fuck?
Yeah, that's a long trip to get to there.
Oh.
So is Sandman Neil Gaiman? Sandman's not Neil Gaiman owned. That's DC owned, right?
I mean,
Well-
yeah, Sandman created it though, so or yeah, Sandman created it. Neil Gaiman created it.
So weird.
So it's and you never see her actual face
Yeah, and they don't
or-
say
or
anything,
even
so
her
it's
symbol.
it's just a pale punk girl, right? So it's not like they've broken any rules, but it's just weird.
It's
Yeah,
weird.
it's just like, I mean, I don't know if we covered it for the show or not, but in Walt Simonson Thor, he meets Clark Kent and Lois Lane, like clearly, and then like something happens, and Clark Kent's like, "I'd better duck out of here," and you're just like, "Okay, we're pushing a line here." It's like Clark Kent not trademarked, I guess.
just a dude in glasses. It's his.
Yeah, just a very large man in glasses, and then he's talking to Thor, another large man in glasses, for that scene.
So why did this weird pale lady give her a brush, and it not be a brush with death joke? That's a dumb joke. Yeah, that's
It is a
that's
dumb joke. I agree.
I'm trying to think of the legal argument here. I wouldn't make a stupid joke like that. I'm Peter David.
Yeah, I guess it's fair use because it is just like you never see, they're not advertising like this issue, a character from another series appears.
So then we get the Incredible Hulk 419, new artist for this issue. Roger Cruz is a guest artist.
I want to
here.
say he did our X-Force that we read. Or am I thinking
possibly.
Or are they going to be like a De La Cruz? I may be thinking of. I think there might be a De La Cruz character in X-Force.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know about that because I don't really like Roger Cruz's art, and I don't know that we would have.
Okay,
it's fine art. It looks a little bit typical, a little bit kind of over muscly, but
yeah, I think he's the one that that I forget if it was Jim Lee or Joe Madura like called him out in a issue of, I forget what it was, where like someone was reading a newspaper and it's like Cruz swipes again because he would just like steal and this is pre-internet and Greg Land and Mike Diodato photo referencing everything, so he was just photo referencing other comic art, and I guess some artists think that's kind of in poor taste.
Yeah, it does look like he's definitely taken after Jim Lee a little.
Yeah, and panel to panel, like he's not super consistent on like what Hulk's face looks like.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was confusing Gary Frank with Ron Lim, by the way. I don't know why.
Yeah, Ron Lim did the end of Infinity Gauntlet.
Yeah, I don't know why those two names like mixed in my head, but they do. So
that happened.
Yeah, I don't think we've done anything else he's done. He's worked on plenty of stuff. He's worked on a bunch of stuff for DC in the 90s and 2000s, and some Marvel stuff as well, but mostly DC.
All right, well, straight into this issue here, we've got Betty and Bruce. They're dancing while someone off to the side is like, Dr. Banner, we found that British artist friend of yours passed out behind a plant. What should we do? And he's like, just let him sleep it off. Hopefully he didn't have any deadlines, which is just a joke about, I guess, the regular artist not being around for this issue.
Yes.
Yeah. We see Talos, that Skrull. He's drinking on a rooftop, and he throws himself off, just kind of thinking about his life and stuff. We'll learn more about him in a second.
It says he's in Vegas, by the way. So somehow...
Yes.
So are they at the wedding reception at the beginning of this issue?
Yes.
Yeah, I assume everything was happening in Vegas.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, it is weird that they've been in Vegas for a couple issues and didn't really mention anything, but sure.
But
that is where Marla met.
Okay.
That's where Marla met Mr. Fix-It, was in Vegas.
I see. Who's Mr. Fix-It?
The Hulk.
Oh, I see. Oh, yes,
That's the Gray
that
Hulk.
guy. That his Gray Hulk. Yeah. So we have and he's kind of talking about like how he used to be a noble, and he's kind of like whatever, but my pathetic existence, that sort of stuff. He throws himself off the roof. We get a retelling of a joke where a guy at a bar is like telling another guy like, hey, I bet I can jump out the window, and the air currents are so strong right now that I'll be able to like fly. I'm not going to fall. And the other guy's like, oh, I'll take that bet. So the guy steps out and just kind of floats out on the sky for a little bit and then climbs back in. And the other guy's like, what the hell? The other guy tries it and falls to his death. The bartender says, Superman, you're real nasty when you're drunk. I was like, okay, that's all right. Are they allowed to do that?
I think it's
about Superman.
I think it's that Batman Begins. Like, I can't kill you, but I don't have to save you.
I mean, they like literally wrote Superman in this book, which I guess is allowed, but it just seems weird.
We read that Amazing Spider-Man by Stan Lee, where he calls himself Superman. So it's happened before.
It's happened before, I guess. All right. Anyways, Talos does fall down to the floor and apparently has died. Just crashed into the ground. Okay. Rick, meanwhile, is talking to Betty after the wedding and saying, hey, Betty, listen, I just kind of wanted to make sure you were okay with the whole wedding thing with me and Marlo, because I remember you and me, we kind of kissed that one time, and Like, I know I'm super hot, so I just wanted to make sure that you
Rick,
weren't
what the
like
fuck,
jealous. And
Again, he's bringing this up now.
Yeah.
Very strange thing to do.
and
That must have
Betty
been really hurtful for you, Betty. What the fuck?
yes, and Betty just starts crying, laughing, and he's like, "What is this? Is it happy crying or sad crying?" Hulk sees that somebody has jumped down to their death, and he's like, "Oh, geez, well, let me help clean this up here," and goes down there. Realizes it's Talos, who stands up. No, he says like, "Oh, I saw you at the wedding. Like, why didn't you leave with everybody else?" And he's like, "Oh, I will leave, but first I want you to kill me." And there's a bunch of Skrulls watching from a monitor on a spaceship, and they're like, "Yeah, kill him, kill him." And during the fight, Talos explains that he is like a freak Skrull who has no shape-shifting powers, like he's a loser. And they would have killed him if he wasn't part of the royal family.
But he's also super strong.
Yes, he's also super strong because he's, but so he kind of like trained himself for that and was able to still rise to some prominence. Then he got kidnapped by the Kree during the Kree Skrull Wars, and he should have taken a suicide capsule, but he didn't have the heart for it. He couldn't do it. It felt like a dishonorable death. And so at the end of the war, he was returned to the Skrulls, disgraced. They offered him, like, "Hey, you want to kill yourself to regain some of your honor?" But he couldn't do that. He wants to die in battle. So he wants the Hulk to kill him.
Yeah, this is just like the Hulu and on Disney Plus show Shogun. Everyone can check out about how if you dishonor anyone in any way, you have to kill yourself and your children.
Yeah, that's how that works. That's the rules. Skrulls and samurai operate by the same rules.
Yep.
We
I always said that.
So then we have the Hulk. It kind of remembers Betty's words. I didn't mention this earlier, but Betty had a little mini scene with him where she's like, "Oh, I kind of like you being this nicer man." And Hulk remembers that, and he's like, "Okay, I'm gonna try and be a better person. I'm not gonna kill him." And so instead, he just starts groveling to Talos and says, "Oh, please don't hurt me. I'm begging you. Don't hurt me anymore." And Talos goes, "Oh my God, you're fucking pathetic. I'm out of here." And he leaves. The Skrulls back on the ship are like, "Hey, you did pretty good, man. What else can you do for like a pathetic dude like that?" Like, yeah, okay. And that's the end of that issue there.
Somehow the rest of the Skrulls are like, "This is fine."
Yeah. So a weird set of 3 issues here with a little bit of everything in there, but and
then Marlowe and Rick, he admits that he kissed Betty, and she's like, "I know, and I don't care."
Yeah, they kind of like laugh it off.
It's a real non-B plot.
Yeah,
I do like because they're like, "It's not a big deal," and he's like, "Oh, should I tell Bruce?" And they're like, "No."
Yeah, definitely don't tell him. But no, these were cute issues, fun to read, kind of silly. I like silly superhero stories. Overall, pretty good. What about you, Vince? What'd you think?
Yeah, I mean, I liked. I always think like, what would a Hulk solo series be? And we're like 400 fucking issues into this. Like, so I always think like, I don't know about that. So yeah, you're right. Like, this was silly and like had a lot of different like tonal shifts, and that was a lot of fun. And then like Captain America and everybody acting stupid at the bachelor party, and then that smash cut to like Betty like, "Take it off." Like, that was funny to me. I like the wedding. I like all the guests. I like people showing up to things. I think all the guests showing up uninvited, that was a funny gag. I mean, it was pleasant. I don't think I'd read much more of this, but it was pleasant.
Yeah. Chris?
I think it was funny. I have very little interest in the Hulk in general as like a solo hero. I will say this is, issues 417 to 419, but that's also the original Hulk series was canceled, and this was, I think, Astonishing Tales got the numbering, so it's actually not all of these stories about the Hulk.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I do like the supporting cast. I think that makes this book a lot stronger than it otherwise would be, because I don't really care about the Hulk in general. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I thought this was fun. There's some jokes that I thought didn't really land, but it's like a light, jokey book, which I understand, like, that's not the tone of the entire series. That's just like because we're focusing on the sort of comic relief sidekick, kind of character Rick Jones. But yeah, I think it was pretty pleasant, and I love seeing all the heroes kind of being friends and hanging out, and then kind of uh, having this opportunity to have a wedding where things don't go wrong, which was pretty rare.
Yeah, superheroes hanging out in non-superhero settings, always
I like
good.
the poker issues of like Spider-Man and those kind of things.
Yeah, always fun.
But I think now we're gonna jump to the Hulk: The End, which was also by Peter David, art by Dale Keown. This was part of Marvel's kind of series they were doing, not really series, but like a bunch of one shots of just like the Punisher at the end, Wolverine the end, like just show us like the last days or the end of this person or something. And I have this it's coming out in 2002. Vince, there was some more like other stuff with.
I remember reading about this like when it was like being pitched, and it was like, and I thought when it came out it was like a big reprint, like a big monumental issue. And what I figured out is that it was actually in this short story collection called The Ultimate Hulk, which is really fucking hard to Google now, from like the mid 90s, which was, it says written and edited by Stan Lee, but I doubt it. It also says co-edited by Peter David, and that makes sense to me. But it was like prose short stories about the Hulk. I had the Spider-Man one from my school library like in 5th grade, so like in the mid 90s. And it was like just like prose stories about Spider-Man, like and they were in the back of those Web of Death issues that we read for our pilot issue episode that we never aired. But like they were just like prose stories about Spider-Man or the Hulk. And when you read this story, you're like, oh, this absolutely makes sense that this started as a prose story that was published in the mid 90s and then adapted into a comic form in 2002. And here we are now.
Interesting. Okay, that does make sense. Yeah, because it doesn't really read like there's not a whole lot of plot to this story. It's almost a little bit more character study.
Yeah.
Like there's some plot and kind of revealing what happened to the world, but it isn't written like most comics. So that definitely makes sense.
So it was weird because I had the Ultimate Spider-Man book that I checked out from the library all the time in like 5th grade. And then they came out with Ultimate Spider-Man, the comic. And I was like, are they just adapting the prose book? So I had a very weird relationship with the Ultimate Universe on the initial pitch, because that's what it's really hard to Google both of these books to find out, like, is it good? I saw Joe Duffy, who was like a Catwoman writer, wrote like a couple stories for the Ultimate Hulk, but I couldn't recognize any of the other names.
Yeah, I don't know. So this was an adaptation of that, or okay.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense because it's all like narration. So I imagine it was probably like Bruce Banner narration and then like Hulk narration, like conflicting with it in prose, would be my guess.
Yeah, maybe this would have been readable as a 10-page piece of prose.
I wouldn't say it was unreadable necessarily, but I didn't take notes on it because I was like, it doesn't really seem like there's much to take notes on. Let's just start going through it here. We've got the Hulk. He's an old man, weak and skinny. He's got some little like flying robot camera following him around that's recording him all the time. And no one else is alive. He's the only human left on Earth. We eventually realize this is because of nuclear war, radiation. Everyone else has died. We'll kind of fast forward. He later flashes back to what happened. So we'll just talk about that now so we have the context here. But he, like, as the Hulk, kind of hid himself, sheltered himself in a cave. And then years later, everyone, like, he kind of awoke to find that everyone has been killed. Some alien from another planet is like, we're here to watch your planet and kind of see everyone die. There's a coalition. Even the Kree and the Skrull have like teamed together to celebrate the death of the human race. And we just kind of want to watch the last human die. Yep. And so we're just gonna leave this camera on you so we can watch the last human die. Okay, bye. And even when he transforms into the Hulk, this thing follows him around, and the Hulk is always like, "Oh, I hate Banner. Banner sucks. I hate Banner." I guess every once in a while, the cockroaches come looking for the Hulk and they attack him. So we see Bruce Banner kind of running. Turns into the Hulk. And
I do like that art. I like that first-person shot.
Art. Oh yeah, that too. But I really love the art. It's fucking grotesque of these cockroaches after they're done with the Hulk. Like basically every time these cockroaches attack the Hulk, They rip him to shreds. They kill him. They like destroy a bunch of his skin. They like leave him guts hanging out, like absolutely dead. And then, but the thing is, we see Bruce Banner like in the future watching this on this video camera that's been recording him, and then we're like, okay. And then he just kind of watches the Hulk regenerate in real time and records it. And he's like, okay, 18 minutes and the Hulk regenerated. Okay, cool.
Yeah. It's like, that's a pretty cool sequence.
It's neat. Yeah, really, it's just that great art there. And towards the end of the book, like we see Bruce Banner does kind of wish he was dead. And he's been trying to kill himself, but he turns into the Hulk every time to prevent it. And Hulk is like, weak Banner, you can't kill me. But it does seem like Bruce can't live forever. He's starting to age. His body's given out. And he is just kind of starting to see things. He sees his friends. It seems like he's got some sort of insight into how to defeat the Hulk. But really, it does just seem like his heart is given out. And he's like, seeing his loved ones before he passes away. So he dies. And the Hulk, I guess, is just kind of stuck on the inside of this dead body. Or the Hulk is just turned into the Hulk and he's the Hulk forever. And
yeah, because he can't go back to Banner form.
Yeah, I guess that's it. And it just kind of ends like that. That's the end of the Hulk, which he didn't actually die. So it's not the same as, I think, really the end. But it is sort of a last Hulk story. There's nothing else for him to do. He just sits there, and that's it. Overall, very forgettable, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Vince, go ahead.
There's one aside from like the cockroach stuff. I like one moment where Banner says, "I shave every morning, so when I turn into the Hulk, I don't see the Maestro," and I'm like, that's a very interesting concept.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, I'm sure this read better as a prose book, and if I had read this at 10, I'd be like, "Fuck, this is so cool."
Chris.
Yeah, pretty bad. Nothing happens other than the cockroach thing, which then there's no payoff at all to it later. They never come back. Yeah. And then it's just like a bunch of nonsense about like, Prometheus was punished for bringing fire to humans. And that's kind of like the Hulk brought atomic fire. And I'm like, shut up.
Yeah, that got a little really on the nose.
Yep.
Which is why we skipped it.
Else. Yeah, I've got nothing else to say about it. Let's. We ready to jump to the Thunderbolts? Yeah. Overall, hey, I still like Peter David. If this was him.
Yeah, it was him, not Stan Lee.
Yeah. Not everybody bats a thousand.
All right, on to the Thunderbolts here. We are on Thunderbolts number 4. Our team of villains posing as heroes. They're in their new Thunderjet. They're heading to the castle where Haley Takahama had previously been held. She's kind of surprised to hear that it's Dr. Doom's castle, but it is the right castle, she remembers. And then Meteorite, Dr. Carla Sofin, the psychiatrist of the group, she gives us a little bit of a recap of everything. They're the Masters of Evil, playing for an audience of 1 right now. This girl, Haley, was orphaned during all the Onslaught stuff. She was living in like demolished apartments with all the other orphans, trying to take care of them. These kids kept getting kidnapped. Eventually, Haley got kidnapped as well, and they've been running experiments on her. But she got lightning powers and escaped. And she went to the Fantastic Four for help, but they are gone, and she found the Thunderbolts. So they're helping her. They did not have any regular clothes for her, but Techno has made a uniform synthesizer, so they were able to make her superhero clothes. It's better than the rags she had on before. So she gets
only make superhero clothes.
Yep,
they can't just
only
turn. You can't dial the back like.
Nope. And it'll also I guess apparently tune itself into the person and make something that's fitting of their powers. Maybe, I don't know. She's got some
lightning bolt on it. So.
Yeah.
Look, we're not thinking this hard of it. We don't give a shit.
Yep.
I do like that it's very still much like a classic, like, the X-Men have Jubilee. We've got this young teenager now. She's on the team. So they're still hitting all the same beats, but then they're also like, we got to keep it fucking quiet. We don't need to let this teenager know our shit going on. So.
Yeah. She's not on the team yet. She's just hanging out with the team.
I like, Citizen V's like, all right, you're going to stay on the plane, right? And she's like, yeah, okay. In my superhero outfit, I'm going to sit in the plane.
Yep. they get her some food and they start heading upstate. I guess this is 200 miles north of Manhattan.
Doom's
So she like
castle?
ran 200 miles. I guess so. Yeah, it doesn't seem like Doom's main castle. This is
Okay.
like
this has been around since the Silver Age that Doom has a castle in the like Adirondacks or somewhere.
Okay.
yeah, dude's got castles everywhere. Then Meteorite has a little conversation with Citizen V. I tried to warn him. And she's like telling him, hey, the other members of the team, they've been outcasts and rejects their whole lives. The whole psychological impact of role playing, plus all the societal approval they're getting, And Zemo is like, I can keep my team in line. We're the masters of evil. No more foolishness. So Zemo's not worried about it. Excuse me. Then we get Haley Takahama. She is super gung-ho about getting in on the action as soon as they get there. She jumps right out of the plane. She's the first one out. And they're like, I fucking told you to stay back. And Citizen V does tell Techno, like, hey, there's no value in having a big old fight in the middle of nowhere. And Techno's like, no problem. I'll make some cameras. And they whips up some cameras. And was like, all right, I'll tell you when to start rolling. They scan for signs of life. They head into reach a bunch of monsters, same monsters that were holding Hallie captive, and she starts beating them up. The whole team fights. There's a goo monster that gunks a bunch of Mach 1's jets, and Songbird uses a sound bubble to free him, and she's getting better at her powers. Haley is doing great though, and Citizen V's like, damn, that energy they put in her is like great. But he's like, all right, we really got to get this thing going, though. We're not making any progress. Alice, we have like a concentrated life sign reading behind that wall. Bust through it. And they find Arnim Zola there, who is the Nazi geneticist, right? Living in Doom's castle, I guess, running experiments. He's the guy who's like a face on a chest.
Yes.
Weird dude.
We love Zola. Zola's great in the Death of Captain America stuff.
He is great. I love him. He's a weird dude, but I love him.
He's also great in Captain America Winter Soldier, I think is the one where he shows up in the...
His name is
like
Toby something. Yeah, is the actor. I don't remember his last name. Yeah, he's great. He's so good. But yeah, did Zemo and Zola team up ever? Isn't both Nazi friends?
I would think Zemo's dad would know Zola for sure.
Oh, that's right. This is like Zemo's son. Okay, that's right.
Yeah, he was not around in World War II times. So,
okay.
But yeah, he might know of him.
So Zemo says to Techno, like, okay, hit the cameras. And then he gives this big speech like, so, Zola, it was you who kidnapped the orphans and hired the wrecking crew. The Thunderbolts swear to bring you down for that, and bring you down we shall. And the TV stations start getting this random signal sent to them of this thing. And they're like, well, we've got to put this on the TV. And everyone's glued to the TV. The mayor calls for Dallas Reardon, who's the liaison to Thunderbolts. And they instantly have a press conference where she says the mayor will be making a recommendation to the UN and the federal government to get the Thunderbolts the same clearance levels that the Fantastic Four and the Avengers had. All right. Plan's working. During the fight, Atlas saves Hallie from some bad situation she was in, and he's like, "Hey, you got to be careful. You're still kind of new at this. I had a little sister. You remind me of her. Nothing bad's gonna happen to you while I'm around." All right, Atlas is being a nice guy.
Yeah. I think this is a missed opportunity for like a gag where he gets like immediately like, pulled away by like a tentacle monster.
Yeah, it was.
I feel like the movies would do that right now. Like nothing bad will ever happen to you. Whoa.
But I think they did want to land on that as like, okay, the villains really are starting to act like heroes here.
Yeah.
What do we do? So Arnim Zola is releasing some bioliths that are like bringing the walls to life and like the floors and all that stuff. But they find the machine operating that and they smash it. Zola makes all his creations merge into this giant pink goop thing. And Haley starts to recognize the eyes, and she's like, wait a minute, these are my friends that I've been looking for. Like, these are all the kidnapped kids who have been experimented on. And I didn't turn out like them for whatever reason. They told me I was special, but this is what happened to the rest of them. So she doesn't want to fight them. She says, hey, if you want to kill me, go ahead. But if you're in there, try to resist his hold. And we see all these eyes on this big goop thing kind of tear up, and the whole thing explodes. Oh no.
Yeah, and I do like Meteorite / Moonstone being like, Techno, are you getting this? And he's like, yeah, why?
Yeah. And Citizen V asks Zola who he's working for, and Zola's like, "Oh, this is just my own research, just keeping myself occupied, you know." And Citizen V is like, "Good, the trail ends here then." And Haley's like, "No, that's not good. You tortured people just for fun. You're going to jail, and I hope you rot there." And everyone's watching that on TV. At the press conference afterwards, Meteorite is kind of noting, all right, Citizen V's biggest failing is assuming that everyone is thinking about whatever it is that matters to him the most. But all the reporters are just asking questions about Haley. He did not realize the impression that the girl made. And they're like, what's the deal with her? I didn't mean for Jerry Seinfeld to come out there a little bit.
What's the deal?
He's one of the
What is the
reporters.
deal with Haley
He's one of the
Takahama?
reporters, yeah.
Meteorite thinks that the smartest thing for Zemo to do here would be to play protector, say, okay, we're going to find her nearest relatives, put her in some kind of care. But instead, she wants him to do something else. So she kind of puts it in his ear, like, hey, they love her. We got to make her remember. And if we don't, they'll wonder why, and it'll jeopardize our secrets. And so he officially invites her to the team. She accepts, decides to call herself Jolt. And Carla thinks about the possibilities this opens up, and if she can turn them to her advantage. Interesting.
So she's plotting against Zemo.
She's plotting something for sure. I do love this issue. She really is the most interesting member of the team. You know. Yeah.
Moonstone, you mean?
No. Meteorite.
Yeah. Well, they're the same.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah,
I still. Yeah.
Because she's still around with when I read the Warren Ellis Thunderbolts. Zemo's gone by that point, but she's still around.
Yeah, she's around for a while.
Yeah. I mean, we've talked about it. I think it's great how they make her like such a manipulator. It makes her an interesting like character in a team book.
All right. Any other thoughts though?
Well, the
Chris,
boy.
I'm going to Chris first this time.
Never mind.
He already started. Sorry, Vince. Shut up.
All right, I'm on mute.
Okay. Yeah, this was a fun issue. This kind of wraps up the first 4 issues. We get a new person on the team. I love Jolt. I always thought she was a character that if Marvel actually like ever allowed anyone to sort of step aside and let new generations of heroes kind of get older, it would have been cool for Jolt to like get become older and like join the Avengers and kind of do things, but instead she just would show up and like, oh, here's your special teacher for Avengers the Initiative this week. She's kind of not allowed to do anything, which sucks because I always thought she was cool. So yeah, this is a fun issue, and I love the Meteorites being this kind of master manipulator. Like we know what we don't know exactly what Zemo's plan is. But we're figuring out that like Meteorite is doing her job as far as being the sort of team psychiatrist or whatever, but she's also like has her own plans, it seems like.
All right, Vince, you can unmute now.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it. Can everybody hear me? All right. So no, man, that joke would have killed in 2020. But no, I like with The Boys just having come back, the TV show. Like this very much feels like The Boys, like in terms of like the characters all like being very aware of like the cameras and their PR team and like those kind of things. Like we only do things for the PR. Like why are we fighting out in the middle of the boonies where nobody can see it? Like this isn't helpful to like establishing our brand. And I think that that's a very cool concept. And when The Boys is like hitting right, like it's doing those things. It also made me think The Boys don't have fucking villains. Like I don't know if they killed all their villains or they just don't have like real villains. So it's interesting to see like these manipulators who are like piece of shit heroes trying to like, boost their profile. And then they're also having to fight villains is an interesting wrinkle on The Boys formula.
I also, something Chris said just kind of made me think of Spider-Girl as well. Like the MC2 stuff, Jolt kind of does give me some Mayday Parker vibes a little bit. Just something about the way she's drawn. I mean, I guess it's
Bagley.
Did Bagley do MC2? Yeah.
I don't know if Bagley did MC2, but
no.
She does show up. She's not like she's a major character or anything, but I think because there's that spinoff like Avengers Next or whatever. Okay. And I think she shows up for like an issue or two. I know Jubilee is on that team, so like you can't have 2 of these characters. Electrical powered Japanese, immigrant, or I guess not second generation. Japanese characters.
Yeah.
But yeah, of course, we're gonna keep on reading some Thunderbolts, see what happens with the team. Although next issue, we're not continuing to issue number 5. Next up is the annual, it's Thunderbolts 1997 annual, which kind of goes into each of the individual characters' origins a little bit here, and it does pick up right where this issue left off. So we're gonna go straight into there. And then for our main read, hey, it's the 4th of July. We're celebrating America. And the death of Captain America. We're finally going back to that. Last time we saw, not last time, but the last time we read Captain America, and specifically Brubaker's run, we saw him die. And now we are continuing Act 2, The Burden of Dreams. This is issues 31 through 36. I've definitely never read this far in the death of Captain America. So we'll see how these go. But they're classic Brubaker stories, so we'll do that. Thunderbolts Annual. And I guess that's it. Plugs time. Chris, what is the Your Stupid Minds podcast up to?
Your Stupid Minds just released an episode on Garzy's Wing, the first anime that we've ever covered in 200 some episodes. It is a sort of legendary, I guess a famous creator in Japan who was one of the creators of Mobile Suit Gundam. Made a sort of medieval fantasy thing that has a terrible dub, and the whole thing is so strangely paced that it was very funny to watch and to talk about. Every character, every one in the English dub screams every line, and they say the Japanese words incorrectly sometimes, but they say them, and it's a lot of fun. So if you want characters to just say like, "What kind of holy warrior are you? I thought you had Garzy's wing and you were the holy warrior, but you're not the holy warrior Garzy's wing at all." Just like that level of dialogue where you're like, what?
It was a pretty good anime voice. I feel like I've heard that exact voice.
Thank you. Like that's the like that might be a little too good.
Yeah.
That just like angry guy.
I can picture it exactly. Vince, what are you up to?
Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Just chugging along.
Great.
No plugs.
Good time. No plug. Hey, I've been playing Tunic. Y'all should play some Tunic. It's a good game. That's my only plug. It is a fox. Yeah. I don't think of him as a fox. He's just the character. You know.
Okay.
I guess he's a fox.
Is his name Tunic?
Or
he wears a Zelda tunic.
I don't think he has a name. I think it is just meant to be like, hey, this is kind of a Zelda game. So, you know.
Yeah. Okay. Now you're selling me.
Yeah. It's good. It's good. I like the instruction manual. And that doesn't sound like high praise, but it's very high praise for this game. And if you play it, you'll understand what I mean.
Yeah, I know. I know a lot of people love that game. I don't have the patience for it, but the people who do have the patience for it, like it's very much like.
I got patience for days, baby. So you know what? I don't even think I'm gonna end the show. I'm gonna wait a little bit. I am gonna say that Vince, I love you.
Love you too, buddy.
Chris, I love you.
I surrender. Don't hurt me anymore.
Oh no, it's not that bad. Listener, I love you.
The joke's on Kia. I wasn't really defeated.
Oh my god! This fucking. Listener, we love you as well. Thanks for listening. I'm not ending the show. I'm gonna hang out here and just stay on the call forever because I got all the time in the world. But you know, Vince, Chris, if y'all gotta go, feel free to go. I'm just gonna be here.